What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Blerd Out. We got the new chapter. 1156 has dropped. We are off of break, back in that One Piece. So we're going to talk about that. Plus, it's been a little bit of time, so we got some seasonal stuff to catch up on. A lot of good stuff going on this season. A lot of stuff I'm trying to keep track of, but man, do I have a lot on my plate. Let's dive right in, of course. If you have not come to the latest chapters or episodes, please know that there will be spoilers ahead.
Spoilers.
So the cover of Jump has a bunch of characters from a lot of the running manga right now. Of course, it's got Luffy in here and Luffy's with Pikachu, and then you kind of have a lot of the other starters from different regions, all matching up with different characters in the series. There are some non-starters in here, like I think Wobbuffet's in here, Absol's in here, Meowth, Gyarados, Rapidash. So like there are starters, there are non-starters. A cool spread overall. Again, since I don't really keep up with like everything that goes on in Jump in its entirety, I don't know a lot of these characters. I see Sakamoto Days, I see Witch Watch, and the rest of them are kind of unknowns to me. I think one of these is Kagibarachi. But yeah, there are a lot of unknowns, which just means I'm not keeping up with my manga as much as I should be. But we also got a new color spread. And I'm telling you, this color spread's clean. I was just talking about how Sanji doesn't appear in a lot of color spreads. And he's usually not a main focus. This color spread has Sanji looking real clean. I'm not gonna lie. Like the outfit's on point. I like the look. Cause like him and Zoro are glaring at each other, right? Something about the way Sanji stands up, I think is really clean. And kind of cause Zoro's just kind of standing there crossing his arms glaring. Sanji's got the arm in the pocket. He's like tilting the glasses down, got the cigarette. Sanji looks clean. Can't even hold you came in front. Sanji looks clean in this. And then you have like Luffy in the center running, and he's doing like the Nika pose, but he's not in Gear 5. He's just casual Luffy. And you can kind of see like the importance of characters because you have Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji being the three big characters. And in the background, you have Rayleigh, Roger, and Gaban. Like obviously they're copycat characters. So you have Luffy to Roger, you have Zoro to Rayleigh, Sanji to Gaban. Makes sense. But then you have like Nami. Nami's laying in the background, and she's not as big as the main three, but she is bigger than the rest of the Straw Hats. So like you have Nami in the background, who's pretty much as big as Luffy. And then you have all the other Straw Hats like Brook, Robin, Chopper, Jinbei, Usopp, and Frankie, all kind of like resting on Luffy somewhere. So like they're very small. And I think that's a big indicator as to Nami being a big character. And it's not like unknown that Nami's not a big character. She's part of the original trio. But a lot of people kind of like to downplay Nami as a character when she is a very big part of this crew, a very core part of the crew. And so I like that Oda keeps that in the forefront that, yeah, we have our monster trio. You can't leave Nami out of that. Now we start this chapter in an interesting place because we're in a port area and apparently there's just been an attack from pirates. And the narration cuts in and it's like, there are certain idols that roam the seas, and you get cuts to all these men laid out on the ground, all these heart eyes, people just stopped in their tracks. And you know what that means when you see it because there is one type of pirate crew that leaves men like that. It's the KUJA pirates. Except it's not Boa like we normally know, it's Gloriosa. And she even has like an entrance that the same kind that Boa had, where like she just walks in and you see all the women fanning over her. Like everyone's just going insane over her beauty. There isn't a scene where she kicks a baby seal, so we already have a plus on that. And we get the reveal of Gloriosa. And I kind of like the way Gloriosa is compared to some of the other KUJA, where I feel like she's a lot more playful. Honestly, I feel like this era of KUJA feels a lot more playful, whereas Boa's era feels a lot more, I mean, to be fair, it's warranted, but they're a lot more defensive and they have a lot more hatred towards people that aren't KUJA. Whereas Gloriosa and Shakky, as we'll see later, are a lot more playful, a lot more social to people that aren't just KUJA. So everyone's fanning over Gloriosa, and we actually get someone who brings her like a bunch of fan letters. And it's funny because the person that brings Gloriosa the fan letters is Toritoma, who is a empress far in the future. she would be the one that comes after Shakky. So it goes Gloriosa, Shakky, Toritoma, Boa. And essentially the way that I believe timeline's going to work out, based on what we're seeing here and everything, is that we start off with Gloriosa leaving to join the Rocks Pirates, because we know she joins there. And then Shakky takes her place, because as revealed in this chapter, Shakky is the first mate to Gloriosa. So she ends up stepping up. I imagine that the moment where Rayleigh brings Boa back to Amazon Lily from the Holy Land, when Fisher Tiger frees everybody, that's the moment where Rayleigh and Shakky really get along. Because if we go through the chapter, and we'll get to it in a point, there's like an interaction between Shakky and the rest of the crew, and we can kind of see how her and Rayleigh interact there. But essentially what's probably happening is that when Rayleigh brings Boa and them back to Amazon Lily, that's when Shakky leaves with Rayleigh. And that's where this character comes in, Toritoma. That's where she becomes Empress. Now we know that Toritoma, because of NSBS, she dies of the love sickness. And after Toritoma, that's where Boa Hancock comes in. So that's kind of the timeline of the Empresses. But continuing with the story, Toritoma brings up a bunch of fan letters for Gloriosa, and Gloriosa notices that there's a giant pile in the back. And I mean, like, so Toritoma has all of the fan letters for Gloriosa in her arms. So it's like, it's a lot. But in the back, there is a pile that is bigger than like any of the KUJA pirates. It's this huge, wide pile. It's almost like the egg on the Oro Jackson type of pile. And all of those fan letters are for Shakky, which clearly makes Gloriosa mad, because she's like, I'm the captain. How are you upstaging me? I'm supposed to be number one. And we even get this party face. And this is what I kind of mean by like playful. Like, this era of KUJA pirates doesn't have as much like resentment towards other people. So there's a lot of like playfulness and joy. And even the narration goes on to say like the only person that was basically outshining Gloriosa was Shakky, which is crazy. Because like Gloriosa is the entire Empress, and there's still someone who's outshining you. And there comes a point where Gloriosa and the KUJA pirates run across Roger. And so it's funny because they pull up on the KUJA pirates and they're trying to get Shakky. Basically, they're trying to win Shakky to their side. And it's so jarring, because when you think about like the Roger pirates, you think about a lot of really big, really serious world-changing events. And then you have him here and the rest of the crew fanning over Shakky. Like this is the quest that they have, is to get Shakky to their side, because everyone's just madly in love with her. And we actually get a reveal here that Roger was pretty much pushing Gloriosa to the side to get to Shakky, even though Gloriosa likes Roger. So like Gloriosa is constantly getting shafted by Shakky. Every step, every turn, the man Gloriosa wants, Shakky has his heart. Shakky's out here being number one, even though she's not even the captain. And as they're like doing this raid and everyone's like stepping up, Shakky ends up coming out to greet the Roger pirates. And she comes out with a kick, nails Gabon. Obviously, he's a hopeless romantic. Roger runs up. Roger gets low diffed easily, which is crazy. And I like the narration that they have with this, because it's like, in her presence, flowers wilted, birds lost their song, people turned on one another. Like, Shakky was moving people like crazy. Like, she had people acting up on their baddest, wildest behavior, to the point where someone like Roger was even smitten by her, and there was nothing he could do about it. And we knew Shakky was bad just because we've seen her in Sabondi before. We already knew it, but this just confirms it. And she's got like the same type of KUJA build. I think her hips are a bit more pronounced than normal. I think I could probably even look at Gloriosa in this same chapter and say that Gloriosa is a lot more, like Gloriosa still has the hips. I think Gloriosa is a lot more slender, but like Shakky shows that she has like really wide hips. And like, it's so bad for Gloriosa that Gloriosa is literally talking to Roger, holding him like, you know, I'm the one who likes you, right? And Roger's just like, nah, get out of the way. I'm trying to get to Shakky. You need to move. Like, it's so crazy. And then while these two groups are having at it, the Navy pulls up. And the Navy's like, hey, we gotta get him, snap some pictures. This is gonna be crazy. And everyone is trying to like split, go separate ways. And all of a sudden, we figure out that it's Garp's ship. Garp is pulling up to Roger and the KUJA pirates. And immediately when Roger figures out that's Garp, he switches from leaving to like, all right, we attacking, we fighting. And you have the panels of like the two crews getting ready to fight. You have Roger stand up. Then you have Garp, and he's holding one of the cannonballs because he's about to do Meteor Fist. And then they start clashing as the KUJA pirates basically dip. And you're like, all right, let them have their fun. We out here. And in the background, we just see like Meteor Fist going through. And then we see a new attack from Roger. Well, we don't see it. We get the name of it. And it's Aramitama, which is a reference to a violent spirit, I guess. And in that case, the motifs of Roger's moves seem to be like divinity, spiritual type stuff. We have like, we have divine departure. So it's another like, I would say like necessarily divinity, like an angel themed move. Then we have like a demon themed move. So it seems like that's kind of Roger's wheelhouse, is like an angel and demons theme to his attacks. But of course, we've only got those two, so that's all I'm going off of. But we get this really cool clash of Roger and Garp, where like Garp's got armament hockey on his fist with conquerors, he's punching, and then Roger has his blade coated with armament and his hand as well, and he's swinging, and like they make contact, right? Roger takes a punch to the face, Garp takes a sword slash to the gut, and he seems fine. Like he's bleeding out a little bit, but he eats that shot. And like this is just complete Garp upscale, because the difference between like a punch and a straight up sword going through your gut are insane. And the fact that he eats that, doesn't get bisected by it, basically just coughs up blood, probably from like concussive force. That's insane. And like as they're fighting, Gloriosa is just over in the corner in her ship passing out. I'm pretty sure like she likes Roger. Garp being here too is just a bonus. And the narration even goes to kind of like glaze Roger, Garp, and Rox as like the legends and the idols that everyone was fanning over. Like people wanted their wanted posters. That's how crazy people want these people. People were always taking pictures of them, and they even going to say that basically in a short amount of time, Shakky became the new empress. And like I said earlier, I'm pretty sure that's because Gloriosa ends up leaving the KUJA pirates to join the Rox pirates, most likely to get to Roger. And then we cut back to Elbaf, specifically Ida's tavern. Apparently Loki was trying to escape from Elbaf, ended up drowning on a ship that capsized, and one of the sailors pulled him out of the water. Now that reminds me a lot of Odin. Something like Odin would do is try to sail, but obviously he can't, so he ends up drowning and has to get saved. And Harold and Ida are there talking to the sailor. Like Harold's pretty much apologizing for Loki's actions because Loki is a wild child and he's a terrible parent, so Loki has like no guidance. And Ida, who the more and more I see her on screen, the more I like. She starts going in on the sailor because the sailor was trying to make it seem like, I did you a favor and saved Loki. And I was like, bro, there was a kid drowning. What do you mean, like, what if I did, what if I didn't? You definitely should have been in there saving him no matter what. And Harold's trying to calm him down, like, Loki got himself into this. And I was like, no, I'm not taking that. If he was willing to watch a child drown just because, then I'll kill this guy myself. Like, I'm not playing that. And then you have Loki in the background being like, I didn't ask anyone for help. And that just makes the sailor mad because the sailor was out here talking about, I didn't have to save this kid. There's just like a lot of back and forth, a lot of bickering. And all the while, Ida's just being so kind to Loki and is basically trying to be a motherly figure without being his mother. She's just being overly kind. And I mean, like, she's always been loving to Heidrun, so she's just showing that same love to Loki. And Loki starts talking crazy. He starts calling Ida a gold digger, basically saying that she's trying to act motherly, trying to fit in so Harold will let her live in the castle. And like, obviously Heidrun's not having that, Harold's not having that. And then Ida's just like, oh, you're so cute. Which is like her response to whenever like Heidrun would do something like just kind of aggressive or crazy, she would just call him cute. That's kind of her response to those things. Like she kind of just dotes in her children. And then we see a character called Mato come up, who's a kid at this point. Now, if you don't know Mato, she is the one who was in the tavern at the beginning of Elbaf. And I was saying this last chapter and I thought I was wrong, but based on what we're seeing here, I think I was right, where the tavern Ida has now is the same tavern that we saw because Mato, the character here, the child here, runs that tavern now. So I'm guessing based off this interaction right here, we're figuring out that essentially Mato takes over Ida's tavern when Ida passes away. And Mato obviously shows care for Ida because she's crying about how Loki's treating her. To which case, like, Ida kind of brushes it off, which, I mean, that's what she does. She's really good with kids. And to all this, Loki's like, man, I'm tired of this. I'm trying to get out of here. All y'all suck. You're weak. You're dirty. I don't want to be here. I want to be like rocks. And he's just yelling like, you guys should be happy now because I'm trying to leave this island. I'm trying to like not be here. I'm trying to go get rocks. And every time Rocks comes, because he's constantly trying to recruit Harold, Loki tries to go with him, but obviously Rocks doesn't want Loki. And then we jump ahead a few months, which completes the Rocks takeover of Pirate Island. And so we kind of have it set up as this pirate paradise, as he's been trying to set up. And suddenly, a new challenger appears. Now, he's masked at first, so you have all these like low-tier pirates at the bottom rung, the base, the coast of Hachinosu. And they're kind of explaining that like all the baddest of the bad are inside of the boulder-shaped rock. And to be fair, at this point, it's not the skeleton or like skull-shaped rock that it is, that we know it is. It's just like a fishbowl. So they're like, everybody in the fishbowl, that's where the crazy people are. And like, as you get to that point, people get crazier, which in turn means that the people that are talking right now are pretty much the lowest of the low grunts. So all these low tier people start kicking and prodding this like new guy who's like, I want to join Rocks. They're trying to give him like the haze treatment. And then he just grips some people up and we get a full reveal of his design. And when I first saw him, I thought it was Zephyr. I immediately thought it was Black Arm Zephyr. But it turns out this is Silver X. His name's Kyo the Wicked, future Silver X. And apparently he was Shikky's rival. Which seems like it's just like Oda's playing with the theming of, Gold Lion, Silver X. And obviously he is not a grunt, so he's going to be making it to the top. We know he's one of the renowned people on the Rocks Pirates. So he pulled up to get some fortune and fame. And as Silver X is taking out some of these low tiers, we look up to the fishbowl, and all of a sudden giant holes get blown out of the top. And we pan over to where the holes are, and it's just rocks standing inside there. And there's no explanation for how he made the holes, what he did. He's just standing in the holes talking about, yeah, this looks better. And he did it at the same time. So I'm like, did he just do like a twin punch inside the rock and just knock these holes out? Like, what did he do? But he starts monologuing, talking about how there were 2 devil fruits he's after. He says one of them is most likely on Elbaf, and it'll only show its true power if Harold eats it. I'm guessing this is the fruit that's passed down between the kings of Elbaf, which we know that Loki has now. So whatever fruit that like the king passes down to his offspring, becomes a new king, whatever that fruit is, I think that's one of the fruits he was looking for. The other one, I think the contenders for that are going to be the Yami Yami no Mi and the Nika Nika no Mi. The Yami Yami, obviously it explains the connection to Blackbeard, and it would explain why Blackbeard knew that fruit was the fruit to go after. And then there's the Nika Nika no Mi, which, God fruit. Anyway, those are my guesses for the fruits. I mean, it very well could be like the Opi Opi no Mi for the Eternal Youth operation. It might even be the Kage Kage no Mi. I have no idea what Rocks is really planning here, so there could be a lot of varieties. My top 2 are going to be the Yami and the Nika. But we start panning down to some other characters. We get to see Captain John again. We see that Linlin's here now, so Big Mom's on the squad. She wasn't in like the last showing. Actually, I don't think John was either, which is why we're getting the description of him now. And we even see Streusen, which is crazy, because it's weird. I knew that Streusen was with Big Mom basically from when she was a kid. So like the creation of the Big Mom Pirates and everything, I knew he was there for that. I didn't really think about what he was doing while Big Mom was with Rocks. Turns out he was just a Rocks pirate, which I mean makes perfect sense. I hadn't made that connection. And then we have Whitebeard as well, and they're all talking about the frozen giants. So the Galila or the Galira. Big Mom's got all her contacts looking for him. They're basically just trying to figure out how they can get to him and how they can control him. And that's why I think when I mentioned the Kage Kage no Mi as one of the fruits that Rocks mentioned, it's because Whitebeard says like, even if you find him, what good is having a bunch of corpses? And then Strusen says exactly, there's no way to bring them back. So I'm like, but there is. But there is. So it's like, if he's looking for the Kage no Mi, that would be a very easy way to bring these giants back. And I'm pretty sure at this point they are talking about the giants that are stored in Punk Hazard. I just don't know exactly how they managed to get there. Because this is a while back. I don't think Punk Hazard existed this far back. And it would make me think that Punk Hazard was built on top of the Frozen Giants. But as we move on, we see more additions to the Rocks Pirates. We have Barbell, who's a catfish fishman, who's really huge, has like his face looks almost like a painting rather than a face. And we have Kaido, who has finally joined. And they're talking about how even if they do come back to life, they have no reason to listen to you, and this is why we need Harold, because he would lead them. To which Kaido is like, man, if we need Harold, let's just go beat him up and take him. Like, we have the strength for it. To which Rocks is immediately offended by that, kicks Kaido in the face. So now we got these two like glaring at it, and you have Kaido like repping up ready to fight. You have Rocks pulling out his sword, getting ready to swing. And it's funny because you have Shakky in the background with his swords out, ready to fight, even though no one's interacting with him whatsoever. Like, there's no reason for him to have his swords out. He's just ready to fight for no reason. But they basically break it up. And Rocks is like, yeah, no one's talking crazy on Harold. That's my guy. To which, like, that's pretty funny because Harold wants nothing to do with Rocks. And he keeps pestering him. But Rocks on his end is like, yeah, that's my friend. And then we get this double page spread of all the Rocks Pirates. So this is very similar to the one we got, I think, last chapter, where we saw like basically the culmination of the early Rocks. This is probably the finalized Rocks. And we got a little bit of everybody. We got Wang Ji, we got Kaido, we got Captain John, Strusen, Big Mom, Rocks himself, Shakky, Ochako, Stussy, Whitebeard, Don Malone, Barbell. They all here and ready to go. And it's funny because they're all really huge. Like, I think as far as like characters go, Stussy is probably the most normal sized person here. Everyone else is just huge. And like Captain John looks like he is Brook height, honestly. Shakky, Ochako, they're all around the same height. And then it looks like Don Marlone, Whitebeard are the same size. And then you have like Kaido, who's a bit bigger. And then you have like Big Mom and Wang Ji, who are bigger. Like, it's just, all these people are insanely big. And Rocks is like, all right, everybody get ready to go. Elbaf is the key to bringing down the Holy Land. If you don't believe me, get up out of here, because that's what we're going for. If you do believe me, follow me, and I will take you to the summit of the world, and that's where the chapter ends. So we have the formation of the Rocks Pirates, and we have their goal. They're ready to challenge the world by gaining favor through the giants. Now, I believe we are on break again next week because Shonen Jump is on break. So we're going to be sitting on a cliffhanger for a little bit. That leaves a lot of good time to speculate about some of the stuff that's in this chapter. For example, the devil fruits that Rocks wanted, as well as the events leading up to what is essentially God Valley. So a lot of good stuff here. I really enjoyed the KUJA Pirates part of the flashback. I think it fills in a nice little gap of lore that we needed. And then we get to see the final formation of the Rocks Pirates, where we see like, we get to see all the people we know being together, like Kaido, Big Mom, and Whitebeard. This is the first time we've really seen them all with Rocks, because those are the stars. And I mean, I am curious to see like the rest of these characters, but those are the main heavy hitters. It was a solid chapter. Really good, really good. I cannot wait. Like, this flashback has been really interesting because like it has so much lore tied to it that, you know, we haven't been waiting for this lore necessarily as long, but it's been hyped up to be so important that it feels like this is like a long time coming. Where like God's Valley, the entire existence of that and the fight and Rocks, that was only what, 100 and something chapters ago, like 150, 200 chapters ago. And actually considering this is 56 and like, I think Rocks was what, 957? Yeah, it's about like 200 chapters. And I wonder if Oda's gonna do something to match that up. Now, because 1157 isn't really a matching number, Oda likes to do like the hundreds as big chapters. But it'd be really cool if he kind of matched 957 and 1157. Considering they have very close ties. That would be insane. Like we got the introduction of God Valley at 957, and then 1157 we actually see what happens. That would be crazy. But I think God Valley has a lot more than just one chapter worth of content, so it'd be hard to do. But yeah, such a good chapter. Really enjoyed that one. Let's wrap things up with some seasonals before we get out of here. Like I said, I have a lot on the docket. Every time I do this, I end up dropping some. We'll see which ones last, which ones don't. I'm gonna try and name off all the ones I'm watching right now in the order in which I like them. So we're gonna start off with New Saga, which is a story about a guy who kills the Demon King and then gets set back in time, I think about 3-4 years before the Demon King shows up. So like he kills the Demon King and then he gets set back in his same time just before he does it. And basically he has this path where he has to correct some of the mistakes he's made, make sure he's ready so that when the Demon King comes around, I think he's trying to keep people from dying. That's the premise of that. Not bad, not bad. I'm only a couple episodes into that one, and I mean, it's kind of generic. We'll see if it gets much crazier. Next up is Apocalypse Bringer, which I'm only one episode in. I enjoyed that first episode a lot. The only reasons that I hired because I only seen the one episode, so I need to get more into it to make sure that I really like it. But so far, that first episode was captivating. I'm into it. I'm cool with it. Essentially, a kid was playing a game in his sickbed, and then he woke up inside the game, but not inside the game, if that makes sense. Like the NPCs from the game and him are in a place that resembles the game. But like the NPC has consciousness and is aware of who he is. He's aware of the area, but it's not the same as the game exactly. And it's got kind of like an overlord theme where he's not a good guy, he's actually evil, and essentially the embodiment of evil. So I'm kind of trying to see how that plays out. Then we got Scooped Up by an S-Rec Adventurer, where there's this young man named Lloyd. He got picked up by like this legendary adventurer before, and she trained him to be a crazy good white mage. So like he can cast crazy magic that people really just aren't used to. But because he got trained by someone so amazing, and because he was on the hero's party and they treated him like dirt, he thinks he's kind of like low tier. Very similar to Unaware to the A Master, where they're really overpowered, they just don't know it. That one's been fun. I like the genre of that, where like you have a really powerful person who's just not aware of it. So I've been vibing with that one a lot. Next up is Water Magician, which is very similar to S-Rec Adventure. This one is more of a defined isekai, where a guy gets reborn. He kind of just wants to live the chill life, but he gets like a water magic buff. But he's really good with water magic, like insanely good with water magic. To where he's on par or stronger than like the heroes of the modern era of this world. And he's kind of just vibing, living through life, not taking anything too seriously. A nice show. Then we got Secrets of the Silent Witch, which I'm only one episode in. I enjoyed that first episode a lot. I think there's a lot of good potential here, so I'm definitely going back to it. It seems like it's going to be a really funny, really endearing show. I like the main character so far. Essentially, she's just a witch who is able to cast spells without making incantations, which is thought to be impossible. It's funny because she did that because she has like really bad social anxiety. So she had a really hard time casting spells because she couldn't say the incantations. So she was like, what if I didn't? And that's the whole premise of the show so far. And that's the whole premise of the show so far. So I'm excited to get more into that. Up next, you're going to know this one. This is My Dress Up Darling. 2 episodes in, already loving it. I love the show to begin with, so it's cute and heartwarming. It's always going to be that way. The animation for Dress Up Darling has, I don't know if it's changed, because there were definitely some episodes in the first season where it was very animated, but like it feels like they went double time on this season. I noticed it a lot more in this season, but the 2 episodes I've watched have been good so far. That's obviously going to be on the docket. I think I mentioned Cleavatus before. Show about basically a bunch of heroes trying to challenge dark beasts. The dark beasts are way too strong for the heroes to be fighting. They always getting wiped out. But essentially one of the dark beasts is trying to learn about humanity. So he revives one of the heroes that tried to challenge him. And now he's kind of moving through humanity and seeing what it's all about and wondering if he wants to kill them or not. This one, as far as like action battle anime, I think Cleavatus is sitting at the top for me right now. And the only one sitting on top of all the seasonals right now is the Fragrant Flower That Blooms with Dignity. This is like a romance that's killing it right now. And you know I love my romance anime. I think this anime is also being made by the same people that make Dress Up Darling, like the same production studio, which is Cloverworks. So they're running 2 anime right now. And I gotta say, this is the better one. Like so far, I found the story much more appealing. And not to say that Dress Up Darling is bad in any way. Like this one is like a true romance, where I think Dress Up Darling is more like a comedy romance. This one right here is like straight romance with drama in it. Like this is the kind of romance I generally look for when I want a romance anime. Where like there's some conflict, there's some hard times, there's some good times. Like there's a lot of interesting characters, dynamics. Essentially, you have a delinquent boy and a preppy girl who find interest in one another. And it turns out the delinquent boy is not so much of a delinquent, and the preppy girl is not so much of a preppy girl. Been fantastic so far. Can't wait to watch more of it. This is probably the one that I wait for the most each week. You just know I love me some romance animes. But that is all I have for seasonals right now. We'll see if I pick anything up. We'll see if I drop anything. I honestly just hope to watch what I have now, maybe add 1 or 2, but it never goes that easy. As always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know how you felt about the chapter. Let me know what you're watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.